Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we're tackling a truly massive, life-altering question. Why is it that some people manage to build lasting wealth, while millions of others struggle financially their entire lives? It's a stark reality, and honestly, we see it everywhere. But today, we're not just going to talk about the problem. We're going to break down the actual, proven sources of wealth creation into a clear, actionable daily checklist. We're going to map out exactly how to break those cycles of poverty and set yourself on a completely different trajectory.
So what's the secret? Is it luck? Is it some raw, unteachable talent? Or is it simply about hitting the birth lottery and being born into a rich family? Let's just debunk that massive wealth lie right off the bat, because the truth might actually shock you. Look, most people never become rich not because they lack opportunity, and definitely not because they aren't smart enough. Think about it. We all know successful entrepreneurs who have failed multiple times, right? And plenty of incredibly wealthy people were definitely not the brightest students in their class. The fundamental difference isn't about having extraordinary talent. It's entirely about daily habits. It's about those small actions you take every single day that either build your wealth or, unfortunately, keep you trapped.
To really wrap our heads around how this checklist works in everyday life, I want you to picture two friends. Let's just call them Friend A and Friend B. Now, they start at the exact same starting line. They've got identical opportunities, the same background, the exact same basic resources. But their daily choices immediately diverge. Friend A gets paid and boom, spends every single paycheck immediately. Friend B, on the other hand, takes a portion of what they have and actually invests it in learning and long-term growth. Throughout this explainer, we're going to follow these two friends to see exactly how their differing daily checklists completely shape their financial destinies.
All right, let's dive into habit number 1 on our checklist. Build assets, not just income.
This right here is the foundational mindset shift. We absolutely have to move away from the traditional idea of simply trying to earn a higher salary and look instead at what you're actually building with the money you make. Because there's a very specific trap that Friend A falls into, and honestly, it's a cycle most of society is caught in. You work, you get paid, you spend the money, and you repeat. You trade your time for a paycheck, you use that paycheck just to live, and then, well, you have to go right back to work. The fatal flaw in this cycle is that your time is severely limited. You can always figure out a way to earn more money, but you can never, ever earn more time. If your only mechanism for making money requires your physical presence, your income has a hard ceiling. This cycle is exactly what keeps people stuck for decades.
So while Friend A is forever trading time for money, Friend B adopts a completely different, wealthy mindset. Friend B focuses on building systems, building businesses, and acquiring high-value skills. Wealthy people deeply understand that true financial freedom comes from creating mechanisms that produce income even when you're sleeping, when you're traveling, or when you just want to take a Tuesday off. That is the true essence of building an asset versus just endlessly chasing an income.
Moving right along to habit 2, the delayed gratification test.
This is all about how our two friends handle their daily spending choices, which is incredibly tough when we're constantly bombarded by our world promising instant everything. Delayed gratification is simply the ability to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. I mean, we live in a society of instant entertainment, instant shopping, instant pleasure. But here's the reality. Wealth is not built in the instant. It's forged in patience. That psychological shift, the ability to look at something you really want right now and say no, just so you can have something so much greater 5 or 10 years down the line, that is the true engine of long-term wealth.
And you can see how this perfectly captures the daily reality of delayed gratification. Friend A, seeking that instant pleasure and social status, spends money to look rich. They're buying the designer clothes, financing the brand new car, going out for expensive dinners. Friend B, however, makes a totally different daily choice. Friend B sacrifices today's comfort and those flashy status symbols, choosing instead to invest money to actually become rich. It's the classic battle, right? Appearing wealthy to strangers today versus actually being wealthy for yourself tomorrow.
Okay, habit 3, overcoming fear of starting.
Look, all the financial mechanics and saving strategies in the world are completely useless if you're trapped in an invisible prison of your own making. The fear of failure, the fear of criticism from your friends and family, or simply the fear of taking that very first step. These are the invisible chains that paralyze so many brilliant people. People literally spend years waiting for the stars to perfectly align, waiting to feel ready, or waiting for the absolute perfect moment to start that business or learn that new skill. But here's the hard truth. That perfect moment, it never arrives.
Friend A remains completely stuck because they let these exact fears dictate their actions. They're waiting for a perfect, risk-free moment that just doesn't exist. But look at friend B. Friend B feels that exact same fear. They are just as scared of failing or being judged. The difference? The real wealthy difference is that friend B decides to take action regardless of the fear. They realize that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act in spite of it.
Next up, habit 4. Invest in your own skills.
When most people think of investing, their minds immediately jump to Wall Street, crypto, or maybe real estate. But the absolute most important investment happens much closer to home. The highest return investment available to anyone, anywhere, is not a hot stock tip. It is yourself. It's your knowledge, your mindset, and your skills. Every single time you learn a new, high-income skill, you directly increase your value to the marketplace. And when your value increases, your potential income dramatically increases. You are, without a doubt, the absolute best asset you will ever own.
And this right here is where the gap between our two friends widens into a massive canyon. Friend A honestly believes education ends the moment they get their diploma. They just stop developing, stop reading, and let their skills stagnate. Friend B, though, views life as a continuous classroom. They are actively investing in their own capabilities, learning new skills daily, reading books, taking courses, literally constantly upgrading their mental software. Over time, the compounding effect of this one daily habit is just staggering.
Which brings us to the 5-year transformation. This is really the culmination of our daily checklist. People wildly underestimate what can happen in just 5 short years if they stick to a plan. Look at the specific actions here. Reading just 10 pages a day, spending a little bit of time learning a new skill, saving a relatively small amount of money on a regular basis. These are the exact actions friend B took. None of these are flashy or dramatic, right? None of them require superhuman effort or inherited wealth. They are just small, manageable, daily actions. But when you repeat them day after day, they compound. Success is rarely a dramatic movie montage. It is almost always the boring, quiet results of unwavering consistency.
Just think about the timeline. In year 1, friend A and friend B start with the exact same opportunities. By year 3, those small, seemingly insignificant daily actions friend B has been taking are really beginning to compound, while friend A is still completely stuck in that work-spend cycle. And by year 5, they are living completely different lives with completely different outcomes. Not because friend B was magically lucky, but because one friend executed a better checklist of daily decisions for 1,825 days in a row.
I want to wrap up this explainer with a really powerful thought. Most people out there dream about becoming rich, but very few are actually willing to become the person required to achieve it. Wealth isn't built in a single day. It's built through thousands of smart daily decisions. So the question isn't whether you can become wealthy. The question is whether you are willing to do what most people simply won't. Which friend's path are you going to choose to follow starting right now? Because your future is entirely dependent on the choices you make today.